such as my family, even if presented with this knowledge. But personally, I would choose to live as naturally as possible. I would want to eliminate the high expenditure and cost of living wherever possible, and mostly this is housing, power, and food. Nothing mysterious about it, and anyone can jump off-grid and eliminate at least 50% of the madness that we are conditioned to accept as normal. But even if you were to do that, how free are you? What's left? I typically preach independence and not fighting with others. But in this case, it's the very same system that will come after you. We, of course, have God-given rights in most presumed free nations, but the lawmakers create new laws which seem to directly oppose our God-given rights and our most foundational documents of law, including the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And suddenly we might receive a nasty letter and feel drawn into the system. And we are. And what do? Comply? And we're taught in law that we must comply. This is an honorable position. We must respond. And this idea of law and freedom is the heaviest research in my life. And I think the most important because it will teach us to navigate these treacherous waters that we seem to be drawn into every now and then. And so recently I was sent a nasty letter threatening taxes, jail time, fines, tearing down of my house, and all kinds of other things. But all threats, all assumptions, followed by accusations. And at first, being like most of us, I thought I would just pay, and was more than happy to just pay and be left alone. But upon reading the letter further, there were all kinds of suspicious words, questionable words, threats backed with no facts, and very simply things that I didn't understand. I did not understand their position, and my natural inclination again would have been to pay, but I also realized upon further contemplation that this paying would also be an admittance to anything in this vague letter I was sent, opening the door for many other subsequential issues. And I don't know much. I wish I would have spent years researching the law. Instead, I've devoted my time to history, and yet I can clearly see that one, in a practical sense, is more important than the other, once we've woken up. So I decided to use what little knowledge I have and apply it. My conviction rooted in my God-given rights. And I wrote a letter, and I thought I would share it. It's not everything I wish I could have said, and as always, I wish I could have said it better, but I said something, and I'll explain to you why. So first I said thank you for reaching out, being honorable, and setting the tone. No response is dishonorable, and can be taken as a disfavorable position. I said I conditionally accept your offer to increase my property taxes under the condition that we have the true facts presented. Again, I thought this was very fair. I'm accepting their offer, but under conditions. And these conditions can be anything. And just with this little first line, I encourage you. We have the rights to question all writings. These people are trying to create contract with me. Otherwise, they would have just sent me a bill. Very short and simple. But instead, they sent this semi-threatening, accusatory letter. And very similar to a police officer that pulls you over for no reason and begins asking you questions. And the idea is that we can ask the questions. We don't need to be backed up into a corner. If somebody sends you a letter demanding money, then we must simply ask questions and determine if this is a valid claim. Next, I said to determine the true facts, my questions below must be answered within 15 days upon deliverance of this letter, or there shall be no valid claim. And again, this is very fair and honorable. I've given more than 2 weeks' time, and also building into the structure of this letter a way for this contract to fail. If they don't answer my questions, or if they don't answer my questions within the time period, this weakens their position, as I have been honorable. Then I say, your letter states it appears that the structures were built without a building permit. Can you prove these structures were required to file for a permit and not within the perimeters of buildings that do not require a building permit? Now I happen to know that my buildings do fall within the perimeters of buildings that would not require a building permit. My original dwelling is a modest camping trailer, no permit required. And there are two structures on either side that also are small enough to not require a permit. So I've simply asked them. I haven't told them what I just told you. This, as in poker, is my hand. I don't need to admit anything, but I do need to have my ducks in order. I am simply asking them questions to see if their claim is valid. And this would be the same with banks and creditors and anybody, really, who'd be making any kind of claim against you. And then this part maybe I shouldn't have put in here. I don't know. Again, I was winging it. Is it pompous of me to put this statement in here? Nevertheless, it's truth. The whom creates the accusation shall bear the burden of proof. And this is why we have the Fifth Amendment. People want us to talk and ruin our position. And we mustn't. It's they who bears the burden of proof. Next I asked, can you define appears? Is this a fact? And appears is not a fact. What we learn in law is our law is full of verbiage and adverbs, and these are not facts. Now this part, I question if I should have written. The letter does not seem to be based on facts, but rather assumptions. Can you show any factual evidence? And if so, how was this determined? This part is pretty important. Did they trespass on my property to determine this? Was this some anonymous tip, again based on zero facts? So I've simply asked the question, asking for the facts, not appearances or assumptions. This part, I don't know if it was such a good idea on my part, but the letter did say if you wish to make payments, please contact the Treasurer's Department, and I did, and they told me no taxes were due. So I've simply asked them to define wish, seeming to be reserved for a genie, typically, not contracts. I do not wish to pay, but I didn't say that. And then, as my last question, and I could have asked so many, and I have the rights to, I asked, does this organization represent the higher laws of the land, including but not limited to the Constitution, federal, and common law? Again, who am I dealing with? Come to find out, these governments are merely corporations, not acting in the benefit of the people. Corporations making money. And this seems to be the foundation of our false history. Corporations creating governments, and ultimately slave systems. And this last part I copied from a debt validation letter, something you would send to a creditor or a credit bureau. And I couldn't have written this any better, so I just copied it and stuck it on here. And it says, this presentment shall constitute a claim against the assets of your institution and is valid upon your failure to comply with the requirements of this agreement and to validate, not verify, the comprehensive accounting. Failure to respond within 15 days will be deemed non-responsive. The undersigned extends to the respondents the undersigned's appreciation and thanks for respondents' prompt attention to the response of the above proof of claim. This presentment is not to be construed as an acceptance or admittance to any jurisdiction, quasi or otherwise, but shall remain as a direct objection to any and all claims to the contrary. And again, I couldn't have said it any better, and just thought I'd stick this part in here, which is basically saying I remain opposed to any of these claims. I'm not admitting or accepting anything at this point. Sincerely, without recourse. So I don't know. Will I end up being fined? Have I made the situation worse? We'll see. But even like the wild animal living free in nature, occasionally we are tested, and we have the opportunity to respond and treat the system a little differently than we have in the past. And maybe it is possible to rebuild this realm for the better once we truly understand the system and our role in it. Not to be subservient, but to be informed and to participate. So I guess that's it. If you missed my video last week, I posted it to my other channel because I didn't like it. But for today, have a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Check out Jon Levi.